everybody, it's the Lady Kayla here, and welcome to the Geekdom. Today I'm going to go over Stormborn, which is Season 7 of Game of Thrones, Episode 2. Before I get into this review, I do want to preface it with, it's obvious that the show is kind of smoothing over a lot of details to get some of these plot lines moving. So we're skipping over a lot of time crunch things and kind of jumping into a lot of things that they're trying to set up. For instance, the inevitable Jon Snow Daenerys meetup. They're just trying to get a lot of these things going right away. The only thing I have that's problematic about this is sometimes they do focus on scenes that I think don't really need to be in the show. It's a lot of a waste of time in my opinion, and one of these examples is going to be when I go over Daenerys right now and her scene. And basically in this scene we are going over how Daenerys is going to take over Westeros, and she has her allies set around her. We kind of get a visual of who her allies are, and we have among them Ellaria and Tyrion, who have a lot of household rivalry. There's a lot of drama here that we could have explored, and they spend absolutely 2 seconds on this little household rivalry. And I thought it would have been an excellent opportunity to show how Daenerys was going to handle rivalries between her allies, how she's going to pacify these tensions, and how she was going to go about making sure all her allies were satisfied with her as a leader and her leadership skills. Instead, they kind of just have Daenerys stomp her foot and be like, don't disrespect my hand, this is how things are going to be, let me explain it to you so that way you guys know what's going to happen. And they're all pretty much were pacified by the sole reason that they want Cersei off the throne. And I think that's not good enough for a foundation for allies, because what's going to happen when Daenerys finally gets the throne? You know, House Lannister and House Martell are still going to have tensions and rivalry. I think it would have been an awesome opportunity if Daenerys had just stepped in and been like, hey, you guys have a problem, like let's get this over with, let's move forward and be progressive for this new kingdom that I'm going to start. That didn't happen. Instead, they decided to focus a good chunk of screen time. It wasn't even like it was like a little blip. It was a good chunk of screen time on Missandei and Grey Worm. Now don't get me wrong, I don't mind a little background romance, I don't mind a little side character attention, but they are side characters, and side characters are so much fun when you're not having them shoved down your throat. They're side characters for a reason. That means you're supposed to pick up on little things that happen on in the background. You're supposed to pick up on little flirtations, and that's what makes it cute and fun and more appealing to an audience. When you're shoving it down our throat, especially when we're like, those are just side characters, kind of makes it like eye roll or who cares? I don't know. They're probably setting us up for one of their deaths, if not both of their deaths, to make us feel a little more sympathetic. But them, if any of them die, I would have felt more sympathetic if they remained side characters, because you see their loyalty through the little things that they do. And you know, they become, you gain affection for them through like the little side things that you see them do. But having it shoved down your throat, I don't think it's very productive. And like I said, it was a waste of screen time that we could have used to strengthen especially Daenerys, who gets a lot of boring scenes, to be honest, and she doesn't get as much opportunity to express her leadership skills as she should. But that rant aside, this is the first time I actually love Varys, and I find Varys to be a lovable character. Daenerys decides to do her typical loyalty test thing where she says, hey, you sent some assassins after me, and you worked for the enemy against me, and you guys conspired to kill me and my brother. How do I know that I need to trust you? Do I need to feed you to my dragons? And you know, while other people interpret this as like her being kind of like a bratty, egotistical queen, what happens is actually really interesting. Varys is honest with her. very straight up tells her in a beautiful way that he is representative of the people, and that if he's going to follow a leader, he wants to follow a leader that's going to uphold what the people needs. And you can make fun of Daenerys all you want, but this is probably the first time Varys was able to say something like this to a leader. Any other leader would not have accepted that. Any other leader would have been like, it's all or nothing. When you bend the knee to me, the people don't matter, other leaders, other loyalties don't matter. It's me or nothing. And yet, Daenerys didn't do that. Daenerys was like, if I ever slip up and don't hold myself to the people, I want you to call me out on it. She was still like, but you need to, swear to me and be loyal to me at the end. And when she calls Jon Snow, however, she also says he also needs to bend the knee. So yeah, she is a little bit egotistical, but if you think about it, not many leaders would have accepted that as a response from one of their subjects or even their council. So that was interesting to me, and it actually made me really love Varys, because I never actually thought of him as a lovable character. I thought he was always a well done character, but I never actually had love and affection for him until this scene. So as for the inevitable Jon Snow Dany setup, that brings me into the Jon Snow scene, where I was hoping upon hope that they would send Sansa as an emissary, because Sansa would pipe up and be like, you can't go because remember last time a Stark went before a Targaryen? And then, the little girl, I think she's a Mormont, but I'm not sure, I don't remember. She pipes up and she's like, well, you just became the King of the North. You can't abandon, your people. But Jon Snow still decides to go, but, who's surprised really there? And so he leaves Sansa in charge, and this is so exciting to me, because we haven't seen Sansa actually get to express her leadership skills, at least not from what I've seen, because remember, I didn't watch the last 2 seasons. But she's always kind of held back, or is under somebody else's leadership, or she's being abused, or in some other kind of disadvantage, and I'm excited to see what kind of leader she's going to be. I hope the show focuses on it in some way, because they do kind of parallel her to Cersei. We saw that in the last episode, and so I'm wondering if she's going to let her bitterness keep her from progressing as a leader. But we don't know, so that's what's going to be really exciting. Another thing I'm excited about is what she's going to do with Littlefinger. It's clear that she can't really do much because he is a leader of the Vale, and they do need him as an ally, and she's completely aware of that. But in this scene, Littlefinger is talking to Jon Snow, and I don't know if he's trying to push his buttons or if he's just a creep and is trying to get friendly with Jon Snow and ended up just pissing him off because he doesn't know how to not be a creep. But my thing was, I think that Littlefinger was trying to get around to asking Jon Snow for Sansa's hand, and Jon Snow was like, nah, don't touch my sister, because Littlefinger didn't even get so far as to ask for Sansa's hand. He just got way too creepy, as Littlefinger does, and Jon Snow is like, oh hell no. And I don't think that Sansa needs to be defended like this, but Jon Snow's leaving, and I think that Littlefinger is going to try something, and I really want to see what Sansa does when Littlefinger does try something. And so yeah, moving away from that, we are going to move into Sam, and I don't know why Sam is necessarily helping Jorah with his grayscale. I do get that he worked for his father or whatnot, but Sam is straight up risking his own life to save Jorah, and I get that Sam's a very giving, loving character, but that's a bit of a risk, and we know Sam to be more of a cowardly type despite all the badass things that he has done. My theory for this is that the show's probably just trying to set up Sam to get kicked out of the Citadel so that Jon Snow and Sam can kind of be reunited. Or also, they want to reunite Jorah and Daenerys, because a lot of the fans do like Jorah as a character, and it might just be more of this whole trying to please the fans type of thing that Game of Thrones likes to do. So that's my theory with that. Next, I'm going to get into Cersei, because Cersei, she's trying to gather allies. Not a lot of people seem to be so keen on helping her because she is surrounded on all sides by a lot of people, and she's done a lot of shitty things as a leader that doesn't necessarily make people want to like fight for her. But you know, I think it's clear that as soon as she gains some victories and gets the upper hand in some way, her appealing to the people's nationalism is actually going to start to kind of work. You know, these appealing to people's nationalism is going to make them, you know, not want to deal with Daenerys coming in with foreigners. So basically, racism is all Cersei really has on her side right now until she gets some victories. And then she's also asked, yo, what are you going to do about those dragons though? And it's shown that Qyburn, I think that's his name, the creepy maester guy, he actually constructed a weapon that can fight dragons. Now, when we see it, it doesn't necessarily pierce through the entire skull of the dragon that he tested on. But one, Daenerys dragons are smaller, and two, I don't think it'd be very fun if, you know, these are a one like hit kill kind of a weapon, because, you know, that would make for a boring battle if like these dragons can just be taken down by a single weapon in a single shot. So that's happening. And I think when she like uncovers the weapon and says, hey, this is the weapon that's going to, you know, defeat dragons, and as we see, she does have one victory in this episode that shows like, hey, I am capable of winning battles and protecting this land. She will get more allies, and it will make that battle between Daenerys and Cersei all that much more interesting. Another thing that Cersei has going for her is Arya decides to go to Winterfell. She finds out through Hot Pie, cute reunion by the way, that Jon Snow is up in Winterfell, alive and kicking, and she has access to him. So it's clear that Arya is not going to kill Cersei, which still leaves the whole war that we're all waiting for to happen. It's going to happen. And so this is interesting because Arya is going to Winterfell while Jon Snow is leaving Winterfell, and she's going to meet her sister Sansa. And this is going to be awkward because they never had the best relationship, and they didn't get a chance to fix their relationship before parting ways. And if Sansa ends up taking the route of being more like a leader like Cersei, I wonder how Arya's going to react to that. So it's definitely going to be interesting. There's a lot of different ways that they can take this reunion between the two sisters. It's probably not going to be joyful, happy. And we'll see if they decide to like become an amazing dynamic duo, or if there's still some tension there. We won't know until it happens. But another thing from the Arya scene is her reunion with Nymeria. And this was super adorable. I was losing my absolute shit because I knew what was happening. As soon as all those wolves started surrounding, I was like, Nymeria became queen of the wolves, and her and Arya are going to get together, and they're going to be best friends, and Arya's going to be a complete badass with her wolf. But that's not quite what happens. She implores Nymeria to come back to her, and Nymeria walks away. And I think Arya says something akin to, that's not you, referring to Nymeria is a wild thing now. She's not going to follow a leader. And Nymeria never really actually ever listened to Arya all that well. She was always kind of a wild thing. And this is heartbreaking because we associate the Stark children with their wolves so much. My theory was that Arya was going to get reunited with Nymeria when she got reunited with her Stark identity. And that's why Nymeria didn't come to her right away, is because Arya is still disconnected from her Stark self. You have to remember, through most of the show as an entirety, Arya is not Arya. Arya has taken multiple identities to protect herself, and Arya becoming a faceless man, or attempting to become a faceless man, wasn't any better. She still had to put aside her Stark self in order to survive, and she's lost her Stark self along the way and what it means to be a Stark, and she needs to be reunited with that before Nymeria will come to her. That's my theory. But I read a couple articles that said that the show actually is just separating them. Like, Nymeria is a wild thing and Arya is a wild thing, and they can't be together. So that sucks because everyone loves the Starks with their wolves, but that doesn't seem to be a thing that's happening. And lastly, we're going to talk about Circe's victory in the show, and that is pirates! As much as I love Yara and I freaking hate Euron and he's a cocky bastard, I love pirates. I love pirates, and this was an amazing pirate battle because it's clear from the beginning that the Greyjoys are pirate people. That's what they did before they had to bend the knee and become part of the nations. They were just pirates. They would do as they pleased, and they had this whole pirate empire, and they did awesome pirate things. And we never actually got to see them be pirates. We heard about them, voyaging and doing pirates, off, the Westeros land, because obviously they couldn't do piracy against their own people now, but we never actually seen it. And here we get an awesome pirate battle, and as much as I hated to see Yara get completely wrecked, it was so satisfying and amazing. I found myself kind of singing Yo-Ho after the pirate battle was kind of done, or a pirate's life for me. But yeah, that was amazing. Sadly, obviously, that puts a damper in my girl Daenerys' plans, and also they interrupted the foreign invasion between Yara and Ellaria. Ellaria got 2 of the Sand Snakes killed. I don't think they were both her daughters, but she kind of adopted one of them as her daughter, and so 2 daughters are dead, and 1 was kept alive along with Ellaria. And I think this is because even though 2 of the Sand Snakes have died, I think they're keeping 1 alive because that's going to be Euron's gift to Cersei is, hey, I got your enemy Ellaria, but I also have 1 of her daughters left alive. That way you can choose your revenge, since Ellaria killed Cersei's daughter. And so yeah, it's like a gift that keeps on giving from Euron's perspective, because he did get rid of Yara's fleet, and that is a victory when it comes to battle tactics. And he also is bringing her an enemy for simple, revenge. So those are different kind of gifts that he can give to Cersei. And I thought he was going to get her a dragon, as my, last episode review predicted, and that was obviously kind of far-fetched, I realize now. But yeah. He didn't kill Yara from what I saw, so I don't know what he's going to do with her. And Theon ended up getting really triggered by his PTSD and jumping overboard. I hate Theon. And psychologically, it makes sense. I don't blame him for getting triggered by his PTSD and deciding to run away. I kind of just hate Theon because I've hated him since episode 1. So that's that. That's my review. We won't really know what's going to happen next until it happens, right? So leave me some comments in the space below about what you think is going to happen, your theories and thoughts. If you guys also have any discussion topics that you want me to explore a little bit more in detail, leave that in the comments below as well. I'll try to get to them in video form. If not, I'll get to them in comment form. So thank you for your time. See you next review. Bye.